Level 1. The fluorescent moment. You are standing under the flickering tube lights of a Valero station at 11:14 at night. The air smells of gasoline and the hot cinnamon dust from a neglected air freshener display. Your boots are still wet from the kitchen floor you mopped an hour ago. A red plastic basket hangs from your forearm, holding a carton of milk, a box of generic ibuprofen, and a single lottery ticket. The ticket cost you $3. That $3 came from the change jar on your dresser, the one you have been feeding with pocket dimes for 6 months. You are 41 years old. Your checking account balance is $312.18. Rent is $875. It is due in 5 days. The clerk scans the ticket without making eye contact. The machine beeps once. Then it beeps again, a longer, more insistent tone that makes him look down. His face goes slack. He turns the screen toward you. You have matched all 6 numbers. The payout line pulses. $100 million. Your mouth goes dry. Your stomach tightens so sharply you have to grip the counter edge with both hands. You do not scream. You do not smile. You walk to your car with the ticket folded into your shirt pocket, your chest beating so hard it shakes the fabric. You sit in the driver's seat for 14 minutes with the engine off, the parking lot lights swimming through the windshield. You think about the rent. You think about the ibuprofen. You think about the fact that your hands are now worth more than every house on your block combined. Then you drive home under the speed limit because you are terrified of being pulled over, of losing the ticket, of existing. Inside your apartment, you lock the door. You place the ticket inside a plastic sandwich bag and tape it to the underside of the silverware drawer. You do not tell anyone. You do not sleep. You sit at the kitchen table with the single bulb on, listening to the refrigerator hum, watching the drawer. The knowledge is already changing you. You feel heavier. You feel watched. You feel like a version of yourself that has not existed before, and you are not sure you want it. The next morning, you call the lottery claim line. They tell you to come to the district office. You drive 2 hours to a low beige building in the state capitol. The air inside smells of old paper and floor wax. A claims officer ushers you into a room with a single table and 2 chairs. She hands you a folder. Inside is a letter from a trust company you have never heard of. The prize was not a standard lottery. It was purchased on your behalf by the estate of a deceased philanthropist as part of a restrictive bequest. The terms are irrevocable. You may claim the money only if you agree to spend every dollar solely on goods, services, or assets that begin with the letter B. The trust will be administered by Northern Trust's Special Purpose Trust Administration Department. A senior trust officer named Margot Ellison will oversee all disbursements. The letter is 9 pages long. It contains a list of approved B category examples: bread, bicycles, blue paint, Baja California vacations. It also contains a prohibited list: cars, college tuition, cheeseburgers. Your throat constricts. The $100 million is real, but it comes with a cage made of a single letter. That night, you sit in your kitchen again. The ticket is still taped under the drawer. The refrigerator hums. But the hum sounds different now. It sounds like a countdown. You have not yet signed the acceptance form, but you already know you will. Because $312.18 cannot argue with $100 million, no matter what letter it is dressed in. Level 2. The first B purchase. You sign the acceptance documents at a mahogany conference table 3 days later. The trust officer, Margot Ellison, is not present, but her name is stamped in blue ink at the bottom of every page. You sit alone in your apartment afterward. The money is now real. $100 million sits inside a trust account you can see on a portal, but you cannot transfer a single cent without a B classification form. The portal has a search bar. You type coffee. A red error message flashes. You type bagel. It turns green. You almost laugh, but the sound dies in your throat. The next morning, you go to work. You still mop floors in a medical office building for $14.50 an hour. Your supervisor asks why you look tired. You tell him you didn't sleep well. You don't mention the 100 million. At lunch, you walk to a bakery on 7th Street. The display case glows with bread, buns, brownies. You order a bagel with butter. The total is $4.20. You pay with the trust-issued debit card. The transaction approves instantly. It is the most terrifying and exhilarating moment of your life. You are eating a bagel purchased with impossible rule-bound wealth. You then try to buy a cup of coffee from the same bakery. The card declines. The cashier frowns. You mumble something about a bank error. Your face heats. The human cost of being caught between two worlds has already begun to drain you. You return to work, still hungry for caffeine, but buzzing with a new private reality. This is the drop point. The exact moment a regular person would have tried the same thing, just to see if the rule was real. And it was. Level 3. The trust officer's first letter. A physical letter arrives by courier the following week. The envelope is thick, cream-colored, and bears the Northern Trust logo. Inside, Margot Ellison's language is polite but absolute. She thanks you for your first B purchase and reminds you that all future disbursements above $5,000 require pre-approval with a detailed justification and 3 independent quotes from B-named vendors. You hire a lawyer. A real one, from a firm that specializes in trust litigation. His name is Bennett, which feels like a small loophole. Bennett reads the trust document for 6 hours and then tells you the truth. The trust is ironclad. Breaking the B rule means forfeiture of the entire principal back to the philanthropic estate. The trustee, Margot, has sole discretion. Her interpretations are final. You realize you are not a lottery winner. You are a grant recipient in a bureaucratic prison where the key is shaped like the second letter of the alphabet. You sit in Bennett's office and stare at a bookshelf full of legal volumes. None of them start with B. You now understand the enemy is not the trust. It is the slow erosion of autonomy. And the person on the other end of the phone number printed on Margot's letterhead is the gatekeeper you will have to outthink for the rest of your life. Level 4. The B-built house. You cannot buy a regular house. The word house does not start with B, but you can buy a bungalow. Bennett negotiates for 4 weeks with Margot's office to approve the purchase of a rundown bungalow on the east side of town for $240,000. The trust pays the seller directly. You receive a deed in your name, but a lien is attached that prohibits resale without a B-compliant buyer. You then submit a plan to renovate using only B materials: brick, bamboo flooring, bluestone countertops, Benjamin Moore paint in a shade called Barely Beige. The approval process takes 6 weeks. Every invoice must be submitted, verified, and stamped. You spend more time on the phone with Margot's assistants than with your own family. When you finally move in, the house smells of fresh bamboo and new beginnings. But you realize every single item in it has been chosen not because you like it, but because it qualified. Your home is a museum of compromise. You walk from the bedroom to the bathroom, and the only thing you truly own is the silence between the walls. Level 5. The Letterbox Company. The problem is mobility. You cannot buy a car. You cannot even lease a Toyota, because Toyota starts with T. You try to buy a bicycle. Approved. But you are 41 with a bad knee, and biking to the grocery store in the rain is not freedom. Frustration curdles into something dangerous. You meet a financial consultant at a bar who suggests something you know is wrong. Form a holding company that starts with B. Call it Blue Horizon Holdings. The company can then purchase a non-B asset like a vehicle, and you can use it as a company vehicle since you are the sole employee. You file the paperwork. You order a black BMW sedan. The first B is right there on the hood, you tell yourself. The trust does not need to know the engine inside is just a metal cage. 2 days after the car arrives, you receive a couriered letter from Margot Ellison. She has flagged the transaction as a deliberate circumvention. The trust account is frozen pending an audit. Your heart pounds so hard you feel it in your temples. You have made the specific, irreversible mistake. Level 6, the frozen account. The freeze lasts 47 days. You cannot buy anything. Not a bagel, not a bus ticket. Your liquidity is zero. You still have your job, but the medical office building smells different now. It smells like failure. Bennett works around the clock, negotiating with Northern Trust's legal team. They argue that Blue Horizon Holdings was a transparent shell designed to evade the restriction. They are right. You know it. They know it. Margot offers a settlement. You must dissolve the company, surrender the BMW, and pay a penalty of $200,000 to the trust's charitable beneficiary. If you refuse, the entire principal is forfeited. You sign. The money is unfrozen, but the trust portal now has a new warning banner at the top. High-risk beneficiary, enhanced monitoring. Your identity has shifted from anonymous winner to suspicious subject. The human cost token of trust is spent. You now have a permanent record inside the machine. Level 7, the partner leaves. You were never married, but you have been with someone for 6 years. Her name does not start with B. Her name is Caroline. She has watched you descend into this strange bee world with patience and worry. She hated the bungalow at first, then tried to decorate it with things she loved. But you had to veto every lamp, every vase, every piece of art that didn't start with B. The argument that ended it happened on a Tuesday night. She wanted to book a vacation to Italy. You told her you could only book Bora Berge or Bali. She said she didn't want to live inside a kindergarten phonics lesson. You had no answer. She packed a bag that night. She left a single non-B object on the kitchen counter. A coffee mug. It was her favorite. It was not allowed. You held the mug after the door closed, and it felt like the heaviest thing you had ever lifted. The house is quieter now. Every room is bi-compliant and empty of her voice. You have $100 million, and you cannot buy back the person who just walked out. Level 8, the B-only body. Your health begins to erode 6 months later. The diet of only B foods is literally killing you. You can eat bread, beef, butter, bananas, broccoli, bacon, beans, blueberries. But you cannot eat chicken. You cannot eat salmon. You cannot eat rice or spinach or almonds. Vitamin supplements. Most brands don't start with B. You find a B-complex vitamin, but it is not enough. Your doctor tells you your cholesterol is dangerously high. You are gaining weight. Your joints ache. The body token is being spent in real time, measured in blood test results, and the increasing difficulty of climbing the bamboo stairs in your bungalow. You start to look at food not as nourishment, but as compliance. Every meal is a negotiation with a single letter. You chew bacon and think about the orange you cannot have. The mirror shows a face that is heavier and older. Your eyes have a sheen of constant low-grade defeat. You are wealthy. You are also slowly suffocating from the inside out, one B-restricted meal at a time. Level 9, the legal siege. You decide to fight. Bennett files a petition in federal court to have the trust declared unenforceable on the grounds of public policy and undue restriction. The case is assigned to a judge whose last name begins with B. You don't know if that's a good omen or a cosmic joke. The litigation lasts 11 months. The trust pushes back with an army of attorneys from Northern Trust. They argue the benefactor's intent was clear and consensual. Margot Ellison testifies in a deposition, her voice calm and unwavering. She explains every denied transaction like a librarian reciting overdue fines. Your legal fees exceed $700,000, all approved by the trust because barrister and brief start with B. But the cost to your mental state is incalculable. You stop answering calls. You stop going outside. The court rules against you. The judge writes that while the restriction is unusual, it does not violate any statute because you voluntarily accepted the bequest with full knowledge of its terms. The trust stands. You lose. The money remains frozen during the appeal, then released again, but you have no victory to show for it. Only the ashes of a legal war you could not win. Level 10. The Island of B. It is now 3 years later. You are sitting on a wooden deck overlooking the turquoise water of Bora Bora. The deck is made of Brazilian walnut, a B-approved material. The glass in your hand contains a drink whose name starts with B, but you no longer taste it. You do not live in the bungalow anymore. You sold it to another B-compliant buyer and used the proceeds to build a villa on this island, a place where every structure, every service, every purchase begins with the second letter. You own a boat. You own a business registered as B Ventures. You employ 12 people and pay them from the trust. Your life is a fully operational B economy. It is, in a technical sense, a triumph. You have hacked the system without breaking it. You have more freedom than you ever thought possible under the restriction. And yet, you think about the coffee mug still sitting on a shelf in a storage unit back in your old city. You think about Caroline's laugh. You think about the taste of an orange. The Trust Portal notification pings your phone. Margot's office has approved your next quarterly budget. You swipe the message away. The sun is setting. The water is beautiful. You are the richest prisoner in the world, and no one can see the bars because they are made of an alphabetic character. You stand up, walk to the edge of the deck, and look at the horizon. The letter B is everywhere. It is in the breeze, in the bamboo, in the boat bobbing below. You have survived. You have adapted, but the cost is written into your bones. You will live the rest of your life inside a word that was not your own. The waves continue. They do not care what letter they start with, and for a single quiet moment, neither do you.